You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast. There's no thing on the screen. So that's what I mean. You have to do that.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, it's annoying. Anyway.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we are here to discuss the Ashes. We are in a little interregnum between the first and second test, but that doesn't mean there isn't news. We can reflect back on Travis Head's 100. We can talk about Usman Khawaja's views on the pitch, and we've got lots of discussion about whether England should or should not practice cricket. In addition to that, we've got India losing 2-0 to South Africa. The T20 World Cup groups, they're out. And there's a rumour, Max, that Rob Key has banned golf. We'll be discussing all of that, and I'm sure more on this episode. How you doing, Max? I'm Jack Hope, by the way. I should introduce myself there. Well, nice to meet you, Max.
Thank you. Very good, thanch. It's a nice sunny Friday. But yeah, I do feel a little empty without some Ashes to get into. You know, we were robbed of maybe not 3 days, but at least 1 day of cricket, and it's left a hole in my life. But it gives us time to amp up the fun before next week.
Yeah, it feels like too long a gap. I mean, I know England were, contributed greatly to this situation and that, but like I feel, you wait 2.5 years for the Ashes to come round, you get a little taste, and then next thing you know, you've got a 12-day gap or something like that. It feels like it's like an international break in football, isn't it? You know, the Premier League starts, you get 4 weekends, and then England have got to go and beat Moldova, and we're in that kind of phase of the tournament. I mean, like it also feels a little bit. I don't know if you'd agree with this, like because England were winning the first test. We all had hopes and dreams for what this Ashes would be and how it would play out and how it would be really exciting. And it feels a little bit like that future has been taken away from us a little bit, and we're now just waiting for a 4-0. And actually, that perhaps this day-night test coming up, it's like 7 days away now. Still ages. We've still got time for this episode and a preview of the second test to
lucky listeners.
But it feels like the Ashes could almost be over sort of this time in 8 days' time. And that's bad.
Especially bearing in mind that if England did go and lose the day-night test, then all they have to do is welcome back Cummins and maybe Hazelwood towards the end of the series. You're like, okay. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of stuff to talk about, as I said. Before we get into any of that, though, just a reminder to everyone to click like and subscribe wherever they're listening or watching. With some really good interactions during the first test. A great number of views and listens to the picking apart of the second day of that match, and I can't think of a single reason why so many people would have come to enjoy that particular episode. Yeah, but look, that's all good. So thanks very much for tuning in. Do tell your friends, etc. Max, we're here between the two tests. We've got a little bit of space. I mean, we on the last Ashes podcast, we managed to fit some IPL stuff in earlier in the week. But on the last Ashes test review, we were talking about our immediate reactions to the Travis Head carnage. Now that we've given it a little bit of time to breathe, what have you thought about that first test? What did we miss when we were discussing it in the immediate aftermath of that carnage?
I mean, it's interesting to hear what Khawaja said about the pitch without wanting to, launch into that too early. But he, very recently said on some social engagement that he was at that it was shit, basically.
Yes.
Which is kind of what we thought after watching it, and very much at odds with what the match referee said when it was rated very good. But the other interesting thing about what he said, because we can get into Khawaja's comments a bit deeper after maybe, is how it was the same last time, but also it looked like it was getting better at the end of day 2, which is what happened last time. And I think I don't think I mentioned it on the immediate review show. I had it in mind, but didn't remember to actually make the point because I was still too devastated by everything that happened and trying to deal with an Australian who was very magnanimous, by the way. Shout out to Paul for being such a kind Australian on that particular show. Was England? I mean, mentioned a bit about England's the approach and being aggressive, and that maybe we thought they might have tempered that a bit in India and been a bit against India and been a bit smarter about it, and that they didn't do that this time around. But the thing that still irks me is that they saw what the pitch did on day 1, which was almost identical to what it did in that India test at Perth a year or so ago, and they therefore probably had a fairly good idea that it was going to get a bit better to bat on, and everyone has spoken about it, and it wasn't it's not a big secret this was going to happen. So it just makes you think that, like, maybe just ride the wave for a bit, like soak up a bit of pressure for a session, and then get to tea, and maybe it will get a bit flatter, and then maybe someone like Harry Brook or Jamie Smith or whoever down the order can put some runs on and give England an actual total that Australia would have to chase down, rather than do what they did and then leave Travis Head the opportunity to do what he did, which after a week of dust settling has not diminished in my mind of how insanely good it was. I think that's the other thing. We were talking about it's hard to think really how good it actually was on the back of it, because it was also visceral and dramatic. But now, sitting here a week later, I still can't believe what I witnessed with that century. It was mental. So it stays very much up there, I think, for me, that Travis Head ton.
Best ton ever?
Don't know about the best ton ever,
okay,
but
right.
I mean, it's maybe top 10.
Best top 10 test tons ever?
I don't know, maybe. I mean, I haven't seen all of them. So
like, I think it's fun to rank
maybe.
it. Like, obviously, for even to be in this conversation, it has to have been insanely good.
Yeah.
But like, it is important to have a ranking of the best things ever. In all facets of life, you
Tier
must
lists
know what
a big thing.
What's the best film ever? You should know that's Mad Max Fury Road. But that's just one example. What's the best food ever? Don't know. That's a good question, actually. What is the best food ever? I'd say maybe tikka masala.
Wow,
I do like
did
tikka masala.
Not expect that. No, I think it's got to be something. It's got to be something deep fried, doesn't it?
Like what? Scotch egg?
Well, I don't know. Chips.
You can't throw that at chips.
Crisps.
Look, it's important that it gets you going, doesn't it? Competition is vital to life, and understanding what the best ever of every category is important. That's the general point. I would have it in the kind of rung below best things ever. I think in hindsight, like
Europa League.
No, it would be Champions League.
Champions League, right.
It would be like Champions League semi-finals, not Champions League finals. I don't think it's in the kind of Ian Botham Headingley category. I don't think it's in the Ben Stokes category. Again, Headingley. I don't think it's like Donald Bradman scoring 3 million runs in a day category. I think it's probably in the kind of rung below that, where it's like, that is incredible. But I think if we're talking about greatness, because Australia ended up winning by so much, it's hard for me to put it into. Well, it wouldn't be in my top 10. I think it has to be for a century to make it into that Champions League final of centuries. I think it has to essentially determine the outcome of the match, and I think Australia probably still would have won if he'd got a golden duck.
Okay, that's a fair comment.
As great as it was, like I think obviously the skill is incredible, and the fact that he did it in a session on a pitch where it was.
If you want to include, non-test hundreds like Glenn Maxwell's effort against Afghanistan, that's
I think
like
that
possibly even
yeah.
better than Stokes and Botham. That
I
was
think
possibly
Glenn
the best
Maxwell's.
thing I've ever seen in sport.
I would agree with that. I think if we're thinking about the greatest thing in sports, I think it probably have to be the Glenn Maxwell dismantling of Afghanistan on one leg when he couldn't. He was so cramped up. So
Sometimes no legs.
I don't know why we've gone down this alley. It was a great century. I think, like, in the immediate aftermath, I think I said something along the lines of I can't even really think of any other century.
Yeah.
It was that good.
Yes,
and now I'm like, I've had a think about it a lot. I've had a long think about this, and I'm like, it's probably
in a darkened room,
slight second tier down. You know,
yeah.
It's Shane Warne to Donald Bradman as another callback to last week's episode. You know, Donald Bradman is indisputably the greatest. Doesn't mean Shane Warne isn't great. He's just not as great.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad we got to the bottom of that. I thought Khawaja's comments, as you were saying, were quite interesting. It wasn't quite. I've seen the quote taken a little bit out of context. What he actually said. It's quite. I'm not going to read the whole thing out. He went through why he thought it was bad. He thought the up and down was a particular problem. Which we called out on this very podcast on day one. We said that is an up and down wicket, and that isn't good. He said that it, really, really wasn't good, and he was particularly talking about, I think, day one. He said so. Day one at Perth is a piece of shit. It wasn't the pitch in general is a piece of shit. And he said that they do get better. I mean, like I've seen a lot of chat about this, and I think because it was getting better, I think, and because of how the test match ended with some amazing batting, I think probably it gets off the hook a little bit. But when one of the players in the winning team goes on a whole rant about how bad the pitch is on day one and how bad it was last year and calls it a piece of shit and specifically calls out why the pitch is bad, saying it's up and down, I think you do have to acknowledge the pitch wasn't fantastic.
Certainly wasn't very good.
Yeah, like it was interesting. I don't really think it affects the outcome of the game because England batted bad twice and Australia batted well
bad once.
Yeah, and that's that's how these things go. But I don't, well, we're on pitch watch, and that seems to be like a bigger thing in Test cricket every single year.
It's just a theme of Test cricket, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. We have to have a long discussion about the pitch at any opportunity. Like, you should get involved in what the pitch is doing, what the pitch might do, what the pitch did do, what different types of bowlers will make.
It's why cricket is the great sport that it is. There's nothing else that compares when it comes to discussing the surface that you're playing on. Nothing comes close to cricket.
What about golf?
I mean, when you're playing professional golf, I think you can have some hard greens and some fast greens, but that's slightly different, isn't it?
You've got a whole golf course. Oh yeah,
but you don't have people going around saying, "Oh, I'm going to make this golf course spin loads," because the Europeans aren't very good at playing the spinning ball at Augusta, so I'm going to turn it into a slope.
Okay.
I mean, from the point of the discourse around unfair.
I think that's fair. But look, I think that probably closes the book on Pitchgate. It wasn't very good. I think, I think my view on all of this always is that when you get pitches like this, it can produce sort of really entertaining cricket. But I don't like Test.
Well, I mean, the cricket was entertaining. You cannot deny the cricket was.
100%. It was a test that will live long in the memory for the glory of day one when England were going to win the Ashes 5-0, and then the inevitable defeat when they were going to lose it 5-0. It was like the Ashes away cycle in 2 days.
It's very much the theme of the current generation, isn't it, Jack? Like, just condense everything down into a TikTok clip.
But I would prefer it if Test matches slot. I think 4 days is the sort of sweet spot.
4 days is good. Yeah.
You get lots of excitement packed in. That's an average of 10 wickets a day. That's 2.5 a session. There'll be clatters.
There's obviously a place for a 5-dayer where all 4 options are in play. But for that to be the case, there does have to be a bit of slowness in the middle, doesn't there?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's that's pitch news.
Yeah.
How much will England
What's
rue their
next?
chance? We didn't talk about that too much. I think again
Mm.
in the aftermath of the Travis Head onslaught, like obviously you had to talk about that. How devastating a blow was struck by England to themselves on the second day.
Yeah, I mean, before the first test started, in my mind, the game was massive, partly because of the injuries in the Australian camp, and not having Pat Cummins, not having Hazelwood, not knowing when they were going to be coming back, but at the time thinking that maybe there's a chance to be back for the second test, and thinking, well, this is such a huge opportunity for England to get a little head start in the series, and because Mark Wood was past fit, he was going to play, and it was in theory the ideal situation for England's ferocious battery of fast bowlers and making the most of the pace and the bounce at Perth. It felt like it was this is a really important opportunity for England to win and to get a bit of momentum going, maybe even get the Australian press turning on themselves. That's always a good way of getting a foot in the door as well with an away Ashes. And after day one, that all looked like it was going beautifully to plan. So I think it's pretty big. You call it a misstep, but a pretty big missed opportunity for England from that point of view, and it does put even more heat on this day-nighter now, because if England don't go and win this day-nighter, it's curtains basically. I think they've come back from 2-0 down before. It's not I guess not completely beyond the realms of possibility, but you look at it, you take a step back and think about it realistically. England will be they'll be 2-0 down, the knives would be out, even more so, being sharpened, and then you've got Cummins and Hazelwood potentially coming back that you're gonna run into, and maybe that's a good thing for Zach Crawley. Maybe that's what he needs to get himself going in the series. But realistically, it's you're giving yourself an even steeper mountain to climb. So it does worry me somewhat as an England fan, but I hold out some hope of the second test. I don't think it's all don't think it's completely foregone conclusion.
Yeah, look, I think what I sort of really think is that if you're an away team, they are an away team. It's not if. They are an away team who are the underdogs and were the underdogs going into the series. Maybe not massively, but maybe they were a 60-40 favourite to lose any given test.
Yeah.
If you're going to win that series, which is obviously what they're aspiring to do, when you are a 70% favourite to win a game, you need to convert that.
Is that what it ended up as at like the best moment, or?
Well, I think maybe even more than that. They were effectively 90 for 1 on a pitch where 170 was the top score, where it was getting easier, and they were batting, and they had set batters going into the afternoon session when, in theory, the batting should be easiest. And then they lost. I can't remember what it was. Was it 5 for 12 or some stupid
3 wickets and 9 balls,
something like that, all to the same shot. I mean, all to the same. It doesn't matter really how you get out from an outcomes perspective, but from a visuals perspective, it looked really, really, really stupid. I think that is it. It's difficult to see them being in such an advantageous position 3 more times in the series, which is what they'd need to do. And then they'd need to convert from that position 3 times to win the Ashes. I think they'll get there once. I think because of the kind of sort of finality and the absolute hammering that they basically ended up taking, I think people have forgotten that they did do some good stuff in the match. Like the big problem for England in Australia, probably the last 2 or 3 series. The bigger problem than the batting is the bowling. They have not looked like a team that are convincingly capable of taking 20 wickets. Like there's always at least one Australian who they look terrified of and it looks like we'll take the game away from them. it was Steve Smith twice. It was sort of a combination of Head and Khawaja in the
Usually,
last away series.
depending on how many wickets they manage to take when the ball's doing anything in the first 20 overs.
Yeah. And I don't think that limitation is such an issue for this particular England team. I think their bowling probably at some points during the series will do some good things and give them the chance.
Yeah.
So I think they will end up in positions where they are, as much as you can be winning a cricket test. Have you ever heard of this? The match of test?
Match of cricket test, yes.
A match of cricket test. As much as you can be winning a match of cricket test, I think they will be able to get into that position at some point again over the next 4 matches. But what they need to do to win now is to do that 3 times and then convert. And they've done it once and spectacularly bottled it.
England seem to be better at converting from losing positions than winning positions.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're realistic about this now, even after one test, you have to say England's chances of actually winning the Ashes are probably 5%. It's a huge turnabout. The chances of actually winning the Ashes.
Our question, what we said at the start was that it was more likely that England would win the Ashes than lose 5-0. How has that changed now? Are we at the point where it's equally likely? Is it now more likely that England will lose 5-0? Yeah,
I think that's about even. Right. Well, if I said we can do the maths on this. If I said that Australia are a 60% favourite to win every test, every individual test, that would give them a 12. So that's 12% chance, 13% chance of 5-0 from this point, based on that. And I think England's chances of winning are less than that. So I think we have passed the.
Well, England would need to win 3, wouldn't
they? We've passed the McGrath point, if we call it that.
McGrath's paradox.
Like it is now more likely. And at lunch on day 2, I know this is getting a little bit esoteric, this conversation probably, but at lunch on day 2, England, they weren't favourites to win the Ashes, but they were probably favourites to win 2 matches across the series. Well, they probably had a decent chance of winning. There's probably a 50% chance of them winning 2 matches across the series, which might have tied it. They maybe had a 20% chance of winning the Ashes at lunch on day 1, on day 2. Sorry, and now we've reached the McGrath tipping point, and 5-0 is more likely than England winning the Ashes, which is quite depressing from even from a neutral perspective.
Just 2 days.
But don't let us put that off. Don't let us put you off watching it. Buy your TNT subscription. Listen to the Cycling Guy.
People enjoy watching.
Do anything about that?
Compilations of trains being derailed, and that's what you're in for.
There are other good things that can come out of this Ashes, like funny things, for example. Max, there is some other news. Hazelwood out of the series, Cummins out of the Brisbane match.
Is Hazelwood out of the series? I thought it was, definitely out of the next couple. Maybe at the end.
I thought he put something on the internet saying I'm out of the series.
Oh,
well, look, just in case I've been swizzed by AI here, which is possible. Talk about the impact of Cummins being out of the next match, and I'll confirm Hazelwood.
Yeah. So Cummins looks like Cummins is out of the second test, which is it's big, but I think, given the fact, obviously, A, Australia won the first test without him or Hazelwood, and B, that it's the pink ball test, and they have pink ball supremo Pat Cummins and Scott Boland, bowled nicely in the England's second innings, and probably someone who will benefit reasonably from the conditions of a day-nighter. I think, it's obviously a huge miss, but I think it's the kind of miss that Australia will be able to overcome in terms of taking the wickets that they need to beat England in this game. And I think Cummins himself said it was always 50-50 whether or not he was going to make it. So I think Australia would have made plans for how they go about it. So you can't say that it's not a huge miss, but I think I think, especially after winning the first one and given it's a day night, it does make a lot of sense to just say, right, look, let's get Cummins right into the right physical space to have a go at the last three, or at least the next two in a row. And if it's 4-0, then yeah, roll him out to try and really squish England's faces into the ground. But I think it makes sense from an Australian point of view not to risk it. It sounds like he's doing all right in his comeback trails, but still at the point where he's taking a few days break before his bowling stints. So don't risk it, and they will be fine. I think probably the more interesting point is whether or not they go with Nathan Lyon.
I think they will.
I think given the double injury, I think they will. Yeah.
We should probably when we get the actual team news, we'll do a proper preview and talk about that in a little bit more detail. But if I were them, I probably would.
I did hear some rumblings about it being potentially dry as well in Brisbane. So if it got there, it could come into it.
It isn't like spinners are completely useless in day-night tests. I mean, I think they're probably less useful than seam bowlers, particularly in Australia. But
Joe Root took 6 for 8 in one, so
yeah, like it's not. There's still space for them, and I think Australia do like experience. And if they get rid of Lyon, then they're playing 2 guys with a combined test cap history of 1 or 5 or something like that, depending whether they go for like Sean Abbott or
I think
the other guy who hasn't played. I think that would be really weird. That would be very Gautam Gambhir.
It would be very Gautam Gambhir.
I don't think Australia. I think Australia traditionally like specialist players, and I think that's a good decision. I don't think they're stupid like Gautam Gambhir. So,
what did you find on Hazelwood? Have you been hoodwinked?
So Hazelwood is a bit of a Schrodinger's Hazelwood, to be honest. The news from Andrew McDonald, the head coach for Australia, there's a quote from him saying he expects him to play some part towards the back end of the series. And I think there's another quote again from the head coach saying he is training, but training's quite a loose term in sports. Like he might be, in the gym a little bit or bowling off 3 yards, or he might be bowling properly and just working up to bowling test match length spells and could be available for the third test. So I think it's a little bit of a watch this space. I think had England won the first test, I think Cummins would be playing this day-nighter, and I think that Hazelwood would likely be rushed back sooner. So I think it will probably depend on whether Australia go 2-0 up, whether he plays soon or later. I mean, it does seem like he will play, though. If I was going to, based on the limited information related to the injury, it does seem like he'll be around at some point. Which is that. So that's the injury news. England news. They have copped a lot of flack from everyone in the world. Michael Vaughan, Geoffrey Boycott, everyone who at one point played cricket, I think, has had a pop at England publicly. Some of which they deserved. I think it's slightly undeserved as well. The thing with England is they are funny to laugh at when they lose, and even if you're English, it's really quite fun.
And I think this lot even more so, right? Because we can just keep rolling out the Rob Key meme of him saying, "Oh God, we need to be better with our press conferences," and then day after day, even he just says nonsense stuff. So
they do. They say so much crazy stuff,
but it is also the easy thing to do, isn't it? They're taking the easy route.
Yeah, well, it is the easy thing to do, but it's like blaming someone for scoring an open goal, isn't it? Having a pop at Geoffrey Boycott for writing the easy thing to say. I mean, it's.
I suppose
he hasn't had to do it. He hasn't had to put any work in whatsoever. What do you want him to do? Do some keepy ups and dribble out of the box to score a 25-yarder and make some point about I don't know, attacking shot ratios? No, it's a completely fair article, I think, for Boycott to write, and a completely fair thing for Vaughan to say. Like, if you play like a bunch of dickheads, and say loads of dickhead stuff, like, you're gonna get hammered. Do I completely agree with everything? I think there is a bit more nuance to it, and I think we talked about this last time. They have to introduce an element of variance to these games, because if they play traditional cricket away in Australia to a better team, they're probably going to lose 4, maybe 5-0.
Yes.
They're not quite as good as I think people think they are. I think there are 2 reasons that there's a little bit of delusion around this. Like, when they do get it right, they are capable of doing things that no other team can do. Like, they can win games that nobody else in the world are capable of winning, because they're taking so much risk and introducing so much variance into the potential set of outcomes. That isn't an easy thing to
replicate,
to comprehend, to be honest. It's not an easy. Yeah, look, the great wins, it's not a formula to win test matches chasing 375. The fact that you can do it is incredible, but you don't want to be in that situation. Yeah, but you don't want to be in a situation, even with a team of Don Bradmans, where you're like, oh, well, the way we're going to win is like one of the top 10 record chases in the history of this 150-year-old sport. That's our tactic. Like, the fact that they're able to do it is incredible, and I think it means that they probably will win a test at some point. But I think it also tricks people into thinking this team are a lot better than they actually are. And if you look at their results over the 2 years, they probably threw away the home Ashes, but they still got beat in two matches, didn't they? Like, had they not declared, they probably do win that series, but they did. Like, they did do that. They introduced that variance, looking for a win, and they lost. So that's a middling result there. They smashed Pakistan away, then got smashed. They got smashed in India. India at home this summer, that 2-2. They played some good cricket and some bad cricket. They got absolutely taught a lesson. Yeah, and India aren't a great team. And we'll get on to India in a minute. Like, India are really not a great team at the moment. And so I think England's hype, because of the way they talk about themselves, because of the fact that they are England, because they have this travelling press pack that are pretty good at pumping them up, because it creates a great narrative when they fail, and because they have done some incredible things. I think, like, the world perceives them as a little bit better than they are, and so it is really funny when they fail, and everyone can pile on and be like, "Yeah, haha, look, they're not all that." And I think, like, if you're objective about it, they're clearly not all that. Like, they're clearly a team that have some issues. I mean, they've got Zach Crawley opening the batting. Like, no serious cricket team. Like,
the worst record.
Zach Crawley and Ollie Pope in the top 3. They've got Zach Crawley and Ollie Pope in the top 3. They've got a pretty threadbare fast bowling core, and they really. When we did the How Many Lions game, what did we have? 3 excellent players. They've got Brooke, Root, and Stokes. Need to be a little bit more realistic about it, I think. That doesn't mean that they don't deserve, some of the lambasting that the lambastation that they took.
Yeah, well, it's just part and parcel, isn't it? The whole English cricket sphere is a constant expectation that England should be better than everyone else. And I mean, it's stupid, but it's always the way, isn't it? Yeah. This is our game. We invented it. We should be the best at it.
What I will defend them on is not going to Canberra to play a stupid day-night match. Yes. Like, I think I think they are completely right to not change their travel plans to go to a completely
different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it would be like, for people who don't know Australian geography very well, like, it would be like going to have a practice match in the south of France before playing a test match the week after. And in that practice match, you're playing like a team of junior cricketers and Peter Siddle.
Peter Siddle's going to take 6 for 20, and it's going to be a disaster.
It's a completely different climate. You have to change your plans. You have to get a new hotel. You wouldn't be together as a squad because only some players would go because the rest of them are in Brisbane already. I mean, like, what did they say? They were going to do some extra training, which I guess replaces the intensity that they would have lost from not playing the 5 tests. It's not like they didn't plan any training. They just weren't expecting to be beaten in 2 days. So there's a little bit more room from a physiological point of view to put in some extra effort. Do your 10 overs of bowling that you would have done.
Keep your fitness up.
Yeah, like that. I don't think they're doing anything unreasonable there. Is that right?
I completely agree. And actually, because that's when I was saying about what the easy things to say are, I was sort of more leaning towards that, right? What the Michael Vaughns and the boycotts were saying about there's a day-night game. It's a perfect opportunity. Go and hone your skills in a day-night game, and not actually thinking about the other impacts. And someone who did actually come out in defense of the England team was Alex Stewart, which was quite interesting. And he was just saying, well, look, they've made these plans. Like, it's completely acceptable for them to not just change those plans at the drop of a hat because some things went wrong. And they've made a decision that it's better to keep the group together and do what they were going to do. And I'm in full agreement with that, because like they could go to that pink ball test and someone could score a couple of 50s and maybe they would feel better and get into some form, but equally possible that they do go and play in that game and someone gets injured and then you're like, well, what were you doing? That was insane. Or only slightly jokingly, Peter Siddle does take 6 for 20 and rips through England's top order, and then you're like, where does that leave you mentally? So
tired.
Stick with your plans. Not sleeping on the plane. Stick with your plans, do what you were going to do, work out how you want to approach the test. You've got an extra couple of days to prepare, keep your fitness up, go through your plans, carry on as you were. Like, I think, it's a tendency to overreact, isn't it? But the other thing, when something as extreme as losing a test inside 2 days when you were so well placed happens, I think there is an element of like not overreacting that you need to do, because if you do start doing stuff like that, it throws the whole thing into disarray, and it can be definitely a worse thing than just saying no, we're going to stick to the plan, we still believe in ourselves, because that's the ethos that this whole England side's about, right? And part of where the success comes from is like making it a good environment to be in. Like, it reminds me a little bit in a slightly less aggressive way in terms of fronting up to the media of like Gareth Southgate and the England football team. It's like Gareth Southgate is, probably by his own admission, not the greatest tactician in the history of football, but what he's done is create an environment where the people want to be there and play football and be happy, and it worked quite well. England got to some finals, so I'm all for it. Gareth Southgate actually invented fastball. Did you know that?
What they should have done, the England football team, is substituted out Gareth Southgate for the finals. Got them to the final, then bring in like Pep Guardiola on a 1-day contract to come up with a magic plan to beat the Italians.
Could you imagine that?
So
galling if you're Gareth Southgate.
No, you can go on the pitch at the end.
That'll do.
You can go. He gets his job back as soon as the final whistle's gone. We can fire.
You're the specialist non-finalist manager.
Yeah. You do everything up until the first tricky opponent in the knockout stage, and then it's Pep Guardiola's time, or Thomas Tuchel. He can come in for France in the quarterfinals, and if it's an easy semi-final, Gareth Southgate comes back in, take the pressure off. It's like the old Roman consular system. You take it in turns to be in charge on the battlefield. Max, it's interesting you say that about the kind of process thing. I mean, that's what Travis said after his 100. Literally, what he said was, "I went out there and I went through the process that I wanted to go through. I could have been out in the first over. I wasn't. I batted the way I thought would be best, and I got 100." Travis Head is better than most of the English batters, particularly in Australia.
Yeah.
So it's not just a case of being like, do what Travis Head does, but the psychological thing that Travis Head is talking about there is that I would have gone out and approached that way every single time, knowing that sometimes I am out in the first over. And I think when you're looking at plans and how you want to create a sporting environment, how Head is thinking there and how Gareth Southgate probably tries to communicate to his players and what England are doing by not changing all of their plans to go and play the Prime Minister's 11 in Canberra are in the same sphere. That is the same type of thinking. I think that's correct.
Yes.
From a psychological point of view. Max, we're going to take a little break to break this up a little. Then we're going to come back. We're going to talk India losing to South Africa. And probably not for ages, but there's some absolutely incredible news from the T20 group stages in terms of who's been drawn with who that we must cover. And
you're not going to believe this.
People will not believe.
That's going to be a great clickbait title for this one on YouTube.
Yeah. Anyway, we're back in a moment.